Hello, welcome to today's lecture. 1 week from today, we are going to receive the third installment, the third cycle of knowledge for the course of the Holy Season for the Year of the Song. And that's going to be a very interesting cycle of knowledge. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are as well. For today, what I wanted to do was simply go back and look at what we learned in Lesson 1 and Lesson 2 in a way that is just easy for you to understand. Because when in Lesson 1 we're learning about how the source reflects upon itself in a tumbling, somersaulting motion, and numbers get thrown off as elements, and we use those numbers to determine what elements we're looking at. Well, at that point, everyone gets confused and it's hard to understand the rest of the lesson. And then when we go to the second cycle of knowledge and we hear a beautiful story, but it's the outline of a story and we're not really sure how that fits in with what we're learning, but then we receive another technique and we're not sure what we're supposed to do with that. So I want to focus on the parts of Lesson 1 and Lesson 2 that are easy to understand and that provide you with a great benefit, a tangible benefit, concrete benefit, and the rest of it is still very beneficial. The rest of it is still really good knowledge, but it's something that you can listen to time and again, get more understanding as time goes on. But right now what I want is to make sure that you get the benefits of these techniques that Todt is giving us. So in the first lesson, we received instructions on a technique initiating the way of the elements, elemental sequence. And he simply spoke about waves of purification when someone does that, but he didn't really say much else about it. So it was in the following days when Cindy asked Todt more questions about this technique and about using the seeds to enliven the elements that we received more information. And we went through this the week after that lecture, that lesson, the first lesson. But let's go through it again right now just to highlight the important points. Cindy had asked what was the difference between enlivening all 81 seeds using one of the techniques that we had already been using, the emerge from the source technique, where you start at seed 1 and you go all the way through seed 81. And so what's the difference between that and the technique of elemental sequence, enlivening the way of the elements, where we go through all 81 seeds, but it's in a different sequence based on the number in the first spin key position for each of the seeds. And Todt said sequence. Well, as we see, sequence, that's not only a very simple answer, that it's the sequence in which you enliven the seeds that makes the difference. It's also a very important answer. So simplicity here is also importance. He said sequence. Sequence is the difference. The way of the elements produces waves of purity, surging through the elemental expressions of creation. Initiating elemental sequence infuses energy and intelligence into layers which store memory of past experience. Elements form around memory. Residue alters forms. Initiating the way of the elements causes winds and waves of purity to churn, replacing imperfection with expressions of original sequence. Residue is replaced by purity of origin. So, remember when Lantos introduced the Chambers of Eternal Light to us. It was at the beginning of 2013. And he explained one of the things that they were going to do. So the Chambers of Eternal Light do many different things. They are the building blocks of the great star of Genesis. They reflect and they transmit the energy of the great star of Genesis. So by creating this webwork of light all around the world, Lantos gave an example of whales and the songs of the whales. One whale sings, puts out a sound, and it creates joy for that whale. Then another whale, perhaps hundreds of miles away, receives that sound and it creates even greater waves of joy within that receiving whale. So that whale sends the song back, sings another song. That song is received by the first whale, creating even greater waves of joy within that first whale. And as the whales sing the songs back and forth, it creates greater and greater waves of joy within the whales. Like that, Lantos explained, the chambers of eternal light create greater light all around the world as they transmit the light to and from one another in the webwork of light around the world. But there was another thing that the chambers of light were going to accomplish. Chambers were going to release the residues of past negative actions that are stored within the earth. The earth is able to provide support for people living on the earth. And this is not just crops growing out of the earth. This is even on an energetic level. So the ability to have happiness, the ability to have success in business, the ability to have success in your path in life, the ability to have healthy families, healthy living, all of this is affected by the earth, the soil underneath you. The earth is able to provide energy supporting all of these aspects of your life. However, when something negative happens, Lantos explained that it leaves a residue, it leaves a mark. It leaves a mark on the person who created the negative action. It leaves a mark on the earth, on the soil where that negative action took place. And it leaves a mark on time. Now, if the negative action is severe enough, or if there are enough negative actions, then the earth in that particular location will eventually not be able to provide the amount of support that it is supposed to. It will eventually even get to the point where it does not provide support. That means it is very difficult for people living in that area to have health, to have success, to have happiness. The chambers of eternal light remove those residues of past actions, allowing the earth to spring back to life and provide the support that it is supposed to be able to provide. Now, that is a very long way of saying that residues of past actions have a significant effect on you. They have a significant effect on the planet, on Earth itself. But as we're talking about elemental sequence, when Thoth was talking about initiating elemental sequence infuses energy and intelligence into layers which store memory of past experience. Elements form around memory. Residue alters forms. So what he's talking about is when certain things happen, when you do certain things, even a negative action can leave a residue within the cellular structure of your body. So this isn't even just, eating unhealthy food or falling downstairs or something like that that obviously can leave a physical residue on your body. This is even negative thoughts that will leave a residue on the cellular structure of your body. And that residue draws to it elements that can be bad for your health, that can be negative for all aspects of your physical body. When you enliven the way of the elements, the elemental sequence, you purify all of those residues. You purify the residues of those past actions, and that means that you're going to have a lot better health. In fact, this aspect of elemental sequence is something that you could say provides for perfect health. It reverses aging because the aging process is in some part a result of your actions creating these memories, these residues, and drawing to them elements that age the body. So when you reverse that, when you eliminate those elements, when you purify that residue of those memories, then that will help to at least slow or reverse aging within your physical body. A lot of physical illnesses are caused by this. You reverse this process, you eliminate those physical illnesses. This technique of elemental sequence, initiating the way of the elements, is a fundamentally important technique for you with your physical health. So that's why it's important that you understand how to do it. And we went through that handout, the handout for elemental sequence. It's the lavender handout that you can see on the screen. And all you do is you follow through in order. And again, remember, this is why I said sequence. It's simple, but it's also important. You have to enliven the seeds in the proper sequence in order to receive this benefit. Changing the sequence means you don't get this benefit. So the only thing you have to do is make sure that you follow the proper sequence, and then you get the benefit from this. Then Cindy asked, each of the seeds has a lot of benefits to it. When you want to get one specific benefit of a seed, do you have to set an intent? And Todt explained that the seed enlivens all within its domain. Initiating spin on the seed enlivens all values contained within the realm of the seed. Each seed is sourced to a vast array of form, as the apple seed is sourced to all expressions of the apple tree. Enlivening the seed initiates origin sequence. Purity of sequence code is generated. Distortions are eliminated. Impurities are replaced with clarity of sequence. Illumined sequence. Greater is the value. Return to origin is greater than the value of origin. Return to origin is a greater value of fullness. Profound fullness is realized. So here he's talking about not just the physical. Let's say you're enlivening a specific seed for one particular physical benefit. Well, that's great. You're going to get that physical benefit. You're also going to get all of the other benefits associated with that seed, including profound fullness, which is the purpose of life itself. So enlivening the seeds will provide you with a much greater benefit than you can even comprehend. And the important thing there is when you get your friends, when you get your family members to enliven the seeds, they get those benefits as well. And that's why, as we talk more through this lecture, the medallion, the personalized medallions, become so valuable for people who don't know all of this training, and they're not likely to be interested in receiving this training, but you still want them to be able to receive these benefits. And then Cindy asked Todt, if you are wanting to receive a specific benefit that is listed on the handout that we provided, where Todt had said all of these specific qualities are associated with a specific number in a specific spin key position. You can see that handout on your screen right now. And she asked how we select the seed based on that. And he gave an answer that was both simple to understand and a little bit confusing, so I want to make sure that you understand it. He said, different causes, same result, different cause. Within the garden, weeds may appear from different causes: wind, water, earth, or other causes, human, animal. Symptoms of weeds appear in many gardens, yet causes are found to be different. We look for the cause within inception or appellation. If the symptom is found within the elements of inception, enliven inception. If the symptom is located on the layer of appellation, enliven appellation. In this way, the cause is addressed. The sequence code is restored. If the symptom is not found within the individual seeds, enliven the way of the elements, the elemental sequence of totality. So again, we've already gone over this, but I'm wanting to make sure that you understand this clearly, because it's important for you to be able to receive the benefits of this knowledge. It's important knowledge. And it's important for you to be able to not only receive the benefits yourself, but to make sure that your loved ones or your clients receive these benefits as well. So let's say that someone has a specific ailment. We're going to sort of do this backwards because I didn't come up with a seed ahead of time to plan this with you. We're going to just think of one off the top of our head right now. Let's say it is seed number 27. So seed number 27, and if you take your blue handout from the first lecture, so you can see it on your screen, and I'm holding it up as well, all you do is you look at seed 27. So let's say that you have a close family friend who has a specific physical ailment, and you find out that their inception seed is seed 27. So then the three important numbers are going to be 7, 18, and 27. The reason is that in the second column, first spin key, the number in the first spin key position is number 7. The number in the second spin key position is number 18. The number in the third spin key position is number 27. So then we go to our handout where it talks about all of the different elements, the qualities of the elements that are found when a specific number is in a specific spin key position. So 27, our first spin key position number is 7. So we look in that first column on the left, key position, first key position, we look down to number 7, pain in joints, poor circulation, cold feet, lymphatic system, skin, boils, poor digestion, gas in stomach, constipation, intolerance to stress. We're going to come back to that. Then let's say that we now look at seed 27, second spin key position number is 18. So we see on our handout, cold extremities, gas, hernia, abdomen, liver, and ears. And then the third spin key position, the number is 27. So here we see stomach weakness, ulcers, low tolerance to stress, insomnia, instability, circulation, and once again, lymph system. So let's say that your close family friend has lymphoma. So a serious disease that is life-threatening and happens to be within the lymph system. We now have two different numbers. The spin key position 1 was number 7, and there it said lymphatic system. Spin key position number 3 was number 27, and it says lymph system there. So that person who has a disease within their lymphatic system, their inception seed, seed number 27, is going to be highly relevant to recovering from that disease. So if this were you and you had your song, you would simply know that you need to enliven your inception seed a lot more frequently than just in the morning and in the evening. You want to be enlivening your inception seed throughout the day. Maybe you set a timer on your phone so that every hour through the day you spend 1 minute enlivening your inception seed. It would actually be that important for you if you were in this position. But let's say that it is let's say it's a friend who doesn't know anything about biogenesis, who doesn't know anything about the seeds or tote or lantos, and really isn't going to be that interested. But they're open to try something because their doctor has told them that, the prognosis is not good for them. So what you do for them, you get them a personalized medallion for their inception seed, seed number 27. Because once they have the personalized medallion, they don't need any specific training. They don't need to understand the seed phrases or how to do it. All they need is the instruction that they hold the medallion, they close their eyes, focus on their heart, and they spin the medallion 3 times. If you want, you can go ahead and give them the seed phrase for seed 27. That's going to be Solar Gate. But you don't even need to do that. All they need with a personalized medallion is to spin it 3 times with their eyes closed, focusing on their heart. And tell them to do it several times each day, making sure to do it first thing in the morning and last thing at night before bed, but then several times through the day. That is how you use the information that Tote gave us about the elements associating with the seeds. You can go back and listen to Lesson 1, where we talk about the source reflecting upon itself, somersaulting, and finding the traces of nil. All of that is fascinating, and it is the knowledge of creation. So the fact that we don't totally understand it doesn't make it less important. It is how creation emerges into creation. It is the most important knowledge in all of creation. But to make sure that you receive knowledge that you can use today, that's what we're focusing on right now, is making sure that we take a look back at Lesson 1 and Lesson 2 and understand the knowledge that we can use for our direct benefit today. So, Lesson 1, what have we learned? We learned that someone's inception seed or someone's appellation seed might actually be directly relevant to a problem, a physical problem that person is facing with their health. And if that's the case, that person needs to be enlivening the inception seed or the appellation seed, whichever one it is, as much as possible. And yes, you can get a personalized medallion for the person's appellation seed if that is the seed that is going to be most relevant to the person's physical ailment. And we learned the technique, that is the initializing the way of the elements, elemental sequence, the technique to enliven all 81 seeds in the proper sequence. And that is going to be beneficial for absolutely anyone, providing significant physical benefits, reversing the deterioration of your body caused by actions that you have taken throughout this lifetime. Actions that have drawn to the cellular structure residue, which then attracts elements that cause problems for you, whether it is premature aging, whether it is deterioration of certain body parts or organs within your body or structures within your body. All of these things you reverse with the technique of elemental sequence. Then, Lesson 2. With Lesson 2, we learned the rose ring sequence. Now, we learned a lot more than that because we learned a great story in Lesson 2. And that story, as I mentioned in Lesson 2, is something that your great-great-grandchildren are going to brag that you were there when that story was first told. Well, at least the outlines of it were first told. So it's a fun story, and it's fun for us to see how it gets its beginning. But the sequence, the rose ring sequence that Tote gave us at the very end of that lecture, of that Lesson 2, this is also important. We're going to listen to what he said in the lesson, because it was only a couple of sentences, and then Cindy's question to Tote and his answer, which again is a short answer, but provides a glimpse into how important this sequence is for us. In Lesson 2, Tote said the rose ring is selected for the purification of the form of Spinkeys and the values of devotion. Connection with the realm lords, the value of rose pink. This ring purifies the second Spinkey, purifies physical form offered through the family line. This ring purifies family, action past and present, related to family. This is the rose ring sequence. This sequence overcomes obstacles, enlivens the family element, and removes residue, slowing the progress. So it sounds great, but let's find out what he said in answer to Cindy's question, because it tells us a lot more about what he means. Cindy asked if the rose ring sequence purifies the past actions of ancestors that are a burden to the individual, and does it affect the DNA of the individual, such as with genetic defects or predispositions to disease? And Tote's answer, yes, it is memory. It is the memory of all past actions of the family line. Actions of the ancestors, thoughts of the ancestors, these generate residues which carry through to the individual. The DNA is an expression of memory. The rose ring purifies the residues of the ancestors, the memory of past action of the family and family members existing in the present. All aspects of family are contained in the influence of the rose ring. So let's go through this. And again, this is review. I've already given you this answer and told you about it, but we're doing it again before next week's course because it is important to me to make sure that you understand the physical benefits, the easily achieved tangible benefits that Todt has described in the first 2 lessons. So this one, we see the idea of actions of your ancestors being a burden to you today, whether it is a burden on your physical health, whether it is a burden on your emotions or your mental state, whether it is a burden with your path in life, your ability to succeed in life. If there is a karmic burden based on the actions of your great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother, and it means that you are having to carry the weight of that action, and because you're carrying the weight of that action, you're just not ever going to succeed. You're never going to succeed in your life's plan for this lifetime because you're having to carry someone else's baggage from hundreds of years ago. That's actually what this means. This means that your ability to do what you're supposed to do in this lifetime is going to be significantly hampered by the fact that you have to carry a burden of karma from an ancestor hundreds of years ago. This rose ring sequence means that you don't have to carry that burden anymore. And Todt made it clear. This is a burden that you can receive from ancestors, whether it's a father or mother, whether it's a grandmother, grandfather, whether it's a grandmother, grandfather from the generation 10 generations ago. Regardless of how old this burden goes back, this is something that you get to purify right now. And for those of you who think of a family member who's alive right now, and you think that person's actions are still affecting you, they're still a burden for you today. Well, yes, Todt actually said this. He said, and family members existing in the present. All aspects of family are contained in the influence of the rose ring. So everything with the family. When you're grouped together in a family, it is for the benefit and it is for the burden as well. You will be able to alleviate that burden with the rose ring sequence. Now, it is a safe bet that no matter how great your family is, all of us will have family ancestors from hundreds of years ago who did rotten things. All of us carry a burden from our ancestors. We came into this life and we signed on to carrying that burden. And that burden, for some of us, may be quite heavy. This rose ring sequence is the technique that allows you to finally get out from underneath that burden. So, our 2 techniques from the first 2 lessons. The first one that helps with physical health, physical conditions that will be affected by your actions from the day you were born all the way through to today. Actions that left a residue on the cellular structure of the body. That residue draws to it elements that can create problems for you, whether it's aging, whether it's weakness in your body, whether it's weakness in body organs, whether it's disease. And by enlivening those elements, we get to remove that residue. We get to correct that problem. And by doing the entire elemental sequence technique, we get to reverse this process on every level of the cellular structure. So that first technique is highly relevant for all of us because all of us go through life attracting these elements through the residues that we leave on the cellular structure of our own bodies. But then the second technique, the rose ring sequence from lesson 2, this goes beyond our own actions in this lifetime. This goes beyond, well, you did it, it created a residue on your cells, and you get to live with the outcome. It goes beyond that. It goes to your family. It goes to the impacts of the actions of your family members from hundreds or thousands of years ago, and how those impacts can not only impact your physical structure, but every aspect of your life today will be impacted by that burden that you carry from your family line. And by enlivening the rose ring sequence, you lift that burden, you eliminate that burden from your life. So for each one of us, these two techniques, the technique of initiating the way of the elements, elemental sequence, that's from the first lesson, and the technique of the rose ring sequence from the second lesson. These are going to be important techniques for all of us. But remember the easy parts from especially the first lesson, so that if you want someone in particular who doesn't know anything about this to get the benefits of this knowledge, a personalized medallion for that person's inception seed or appellation seed, depending upon which one is most relevant to their current physical condition, that is an easy way to help them receive the benefits of this. Okay, I wanted to go through this review today, and I know that I've given you this information before over the last 3 weeks, but I wanted to make sure that all of us remember these techniques and the simple, tangible benefits that Todt has given to us through enlivening specific seeds in specific sequence. And so now that we prepare for 1 week from today, for the third cycle of knowledge of the golden ring of Todt, we have an understanding, a firm understanding of what we gained from the first 2 lectures. Okay, everyone, I will be traveling on Wednesday, so I will not be with you on Wednesday, but I will be with you next Sunday. I'm going to send out an email to you on Saturday, giving you instructions for Sunday. And that's because I don't know what the instructions are going to be yet. I probably won't know what those instructions are until Saturday. So once we receive the information from Todt for Sunday's class, I will know what the instructions are going to be. He may want all of us doing something together at the same time. He may want all of us to do something in sequence. I don't know yet. But I will send out an email on Saturday so that you know if you have to watch for an email at a specific time on Sunday, or if you can just watch the third lesson anytime you want once it goes out on Sunday. So expect an email on Saturday, then expect the class on Sunday. And I look forward to both of those with you. Everyone, have a great week.